welcome to Knights of the Last Call special Thursday playtest edition. We are here live. And just as we go live, we get a tip from Jason B. Hey, everybody, bad news. Oh, no. We're canceling the reveal. Say it isn't so. Jason B says, hey, everybody, bad news. We're canceling the class reveal because we forgot Starfield was out today. So, yeah, go play a Leshy or something or whatever it is that you guys do. Thanks. I do have the text-to-speech off because we're going to be watching a live stream here. This is, in fact, the Ben A live waiting room. So for those of you who may not have caught up with everything, we're actually kind of doing two streams today, which is we're going to do a Call of Cthulhu first look. I've never read, I've never played, I've never ran Call of Cthulhu my whole life. Don't know how the system works other than, what you sort of pick up by osmosis. So it's kind of a travesty when you really think about it, especially someone like me who really, prides myself on having a fairly large awareness of the RPG space. Anyways, we had a tip goal a couple weeks ago where it was, hey, Derek is going to go through Call of Cthulhu because I picked it up at Gen Con finally. Finally picked up the rule book at Gen Con to add to my shelf. Now, we were going to do that, but I'm doing this with Ben, who is sort of the resident premier Call of Cthulhu keeper extraordinaire of our Knights of the Last Call Patreon and Discord. And so he obviously was a natural choice to get onto this stream, but he originally told me, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it till later, like around 8 o'clock. So I said, okay, that's fine. We'll do the stream later. Not a big problem. But then very conveniently, Paizo went ahead and said, hey, we are going to be doing a stream at 7 o'clock to reveal our new 2 playtest classes. And Vin coming in with the $2 says, even I think Call of Cthulhu is a fantastic system. I am waiting to be impressed. I don't know if this is going to be a train wreck of epic proportions because, obviously this is a game that Ben really, really likes. So if I don't like it, we're going to be live on on stream. It might be a little bit kind of contentious. But I'll trust that it must be a reasonable game. We'll see. I have to kind of put my horror simulation. Part of the reason I've stayed away from the game system, by the way, has nothing to do with the game system itself. It's that I am not much of a horror guy. I'm not cosmic horror, gore horror movies, horror films. I'm just not a horror guy. So that's not ever been really one of my favorite type things. But as I said, before we do that, which is going to be happening at 8:30, so in about an hour and a half, give or take, and we will close this stream. I'm going to go get hit the bathroom, get something to drink, set up the Zoom call with Ben, and then we'll be back on for a second stream at 8:30. But for right now, we are just waiting. I've got my Twitch open to the official Paizo Twitch channel, and we are waiting for them to basically go live. And they are going to be announcing their 2 new play test classes, which they sort of talked about at Gen Con, that there was going to be a new play test coming out. And with remaster in the works, with what I feel like is strong success of the Kineticist, the Psychic, the Thaumaturge, I am more looking forward to this than I would ordinarily be looking forward to this. Now, of course, tinfoil hat Derek here, I long have held onto the belief that I think Paizo deliberately tanks the playtest classes and makes them kind of bad, because that way when they fix them in the final release, people are really, really excited for the class. Because the last thing you want to do is make the class awesome and cool and powerful and maybe a little too powerful in the playtest, and then have to wind all that back and just get a lot of internet bitching at them from would-be power gamers who just had their hopes and dreams smashed. Instead, it's better to sort of undercook it and have people going oh, I just wish I could get a little bit more out of it, and then meet those expectations and then some, right? So it's one of those keep your set the expectations low, under promise and then over deliver. Now, that being said, there's a lot of debate about what's going to happen. Now, what we do know is that these are two classes, which, quote, I keep seeing on Twitter, everyone's like, the one thing that they have said, these have never been a Pathfinder class before. And I keep seeing people saying, oh, it's going to be an Inquisitor. Well, there was an Inquisitor, so we're not going to have an Inquisitor. Oh, it's going to be it's like, well, we had these classes already. So I don't think we're going to see any of those types of classes. Now, they did say specifically, this has never been a Pathfinder class. So it's like, does that mean it could have been a Starfinder class? They also said it had 3 syllables, but that doesn't really help you too much, except to say it's probably not something, the word or the name is short. And then we got 2 pieces of artwork, sort of early concept sketches, look very, very Wayne Reynolds-esque, that sort of show what looks to be a lightly armored individual who may have a lot of sort of tattoos across his chest. So that's kind of one. And the other one looked a little bit more sage-like and a little bit more robe-like. Save Versus said, funnily enough, WotC said that they overpower their playtest classes because they find it easier to dial down than the other way around. I probably agree with you, Save Versus. I would rather push the limit to as far as I could possibly go and then dial it back, right? Because all I want to do, like, I want to make my, game to be as, or my class or my feature to be basically as like just as balanced as it possibly could be without being broken, right? Because that's just the way I think of game design. So that's probably more my style of how I would prefer to do it too, right? Like, push it too far. Let's go too far. We can always dial it back. Yeah, how edgy do you expect these classes to be out of 10? Now, here's an interesting thing. I think they also said, I know that they have a big push into next year. Obviously, this year we've got the remaster coming out end of year / beginning of next year. So, that's kind of the primary focus. But the big thing that they're talking about doing next year is sort of a big Tian Xia sort of tie-in. There's going to be a big, I think, 20-level adventure path set in Tian Xia. I think they're going to have a big, huge campaign book or world book for Tian Xia. And I really would not surprise me if we got maybe some, sort of Asian influenced, East Asian influenced classes that sort of tie into Tian Xia. So I don't think that would be completely out of the, crazy. I don't think that'd be out of the question. I personally think that I think they're going to be low edge. I will say this. I think we are going to have a sort of diplomat character, like a courtier. I think we're going to have sort of a, politician type class. And I wouldn't be surprised if that ties into the sort of Tian Xia adventure path, which might be very political. And I think that is a distinct possibility. I could be completely wrong. Like an envoy, right? This is a class that exists in Starfinder. I believe that's the envoy, but we've also seen it in other game systems as well. And so I think, when I thought that sort of robed individual, my thought process there was like a courtier. Now, what the other one would be, aka the guy with the full tribal tattoos, who the hell knows? That one, anybody's up for me. By the way, I've got my Twitch open right here, but if for some odd reason Paizo goes live and I somehow miss it, just tell me in chat. I've got it up and I'm reading everything. We got a super chat coming in from Lazarus Dark, buddy. Long time no see. Is this where I put my bet on the legally distinct yet probably factually accurate warlord for a new class? Now, I would love to see a class, honestly. I mean, teamwork, people talk about teamwork in Pathfinder 2nd edition, and I believe in it. I think that, everything from simple as flanking to using the aid action to using buffs and spells and helping out your teamworks. Very, very cool part of the game. It's hard to do it all on your own. I think this is a game that would love to see a sort of commander or warlord class. I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. So It'll be interesting to see. But great to see you. Yeah, first time catching live in a long time. Sure is. Sure is. Aaron believes that animist could be a strong contender, and I could see that. Pacific Northwest tribal aesthetic light armor guy, maybe like a Maori or a sort of oceanic warrior aesthetic bare chested guy. I could see that. That's kind of a Moana vibe there. I don't think we're going to see a berserker. I think they're going to try to expand the game into areas and directions that it didn't, sort of have a class. I mean, I would love to see them add classes that fill niches that aren't really currently being filled. Hence why I think the envoy or the diplomat or the courtier is a good option. Caleb Acosta says, where are the photos that you had mentioned? Let's take a look here. We only got a couple minutes left. Let's see here. Let's see if I can pull them up real quick. Also, we do know that one of them is rare. So there's that. I forgot about that. We also know one of the classes is rare. It's the first class that's going to be rare, which is very, very interesting. So, I don't know where the art is specifically. I think it was just posted out on Instagram on like one of the Paizo people's, whatchamacallit, on one of their like Instagram feeds. But I'm sure we'll see them as soon as the thing goes ahead and gets started. But yeah. Exactly. Right now, there's only the two uncommon classes, actually, Henry. Gunslinger and Inventor are both uncommon. Even Kineticist is common. And I historically, they have not made rare things in Pathfinder 2 broken. They have either been problematic or they, in the sense that, like, if you want exploration to be an important part of your game, then you might want to get rid of teleport or like rare is like things like androids because they're just so weird. So yeah, I think it's going to be. I think Gossamer has it right, which is I think rare is more of a signifying that it's going to be niche.
Is there something that you want?
Is this it?
Anything else in this world?
All right.
The pirates.
All right. Hold on a sec here. Okay. So I think we're good here. I got it muted right now. Let me know what you guys... let me see. How's the volume on this, you guys? Let me know in chat. Is that weird for you guys, or is that just their thing? Can't tell if that's me or... So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. Let me kind of bring us in here. Here we go. Get this to be a little bit bigger for y'all. There we go. All right. There we go. Yeah, Twitch can be really warbling. You know, I'm always very glad that I'm on YouTube. So yeah, videoception. Yes, it's me watching a video of them watching a video. I don't know. I think why would they, especially with the announcement, Elrin, that the Starfinder Second Edition is going to basically be 100% compatible with Pathfinder Second Edition. I don't see why they would replicate the class. I don't think they need to. This show looks like a mess. Wait, whose show? Our show? My show? All right. Okay. Yeah, it's very warbly. Okay, good. But yeah, so again, we'll yeah, that's true that Darth Garlock is correct. There is some sort of information that this does tie into the potential death of one of the core gods that has been around in the game since basically the beginning of it. So, you know, that definitely has potential implications. We had a super chat from Damian Williams while I think I was messing around with this. Damian Williams says the rare class still won't be as broken.
Hey,
as
how's it going, everybody? I am Michael Sayre, the design manager here at Paizo, with my compatriot, senior designer James Case. We are here to talk to you about the playtest for an upcoming book called Pathfinder War of Immortals. The War of Immortals book is going to have 2 new classes who we are going to talk to you about today. It's also going to have some exciting new materials that you all have to wait to get details about, but I'm going to give you a couple little tastes
War
of what's
of Immortals
to come.
Classes.
This will have lots of archetypes for characters who might want to get involved in a war involving immortal beings. And I had mentioned the last time I talked about this that one of the reasons it was not revealing the title yet was because War of Immortals was a spoiler. One of the cool things you'll notice in a bunch of these archetypes and in the classes is that they have capstone feats that make your characters immortal with a whole bunch of different flavors of immortality. Whether that be the
like
standard unaging deathlessness, whether it be constant reincarnation and rebirth, or all kinds of cool things like that. So that is going to be an awesome amount of content coming your way. And of course, as previously mentioned, the opening of that book is going to involve the death of one of the core 20 deities in Galarian.
Yeah, wow.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today, we're here to talk about 2 new classes. And some of you correctly guessed their names. They are the animist and the exemplar. I am the design lead on the animist.
Exemplar is a cool name.
A little bit more about her and her abilities soon, but first I'm going to hand the mic over to James.
That's pretty sweet.
Introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his class.
Hi everyone, I'm James Case. I'm senior designer here on the Rules and Lore team, and I will be working on a class called the Exemplar. The Exemplar is a fun class. It is our newest, very combat-oriented class, and they are very larger than life. I know
it's the anime. It's anime.
Iconic, who I am excited to talk about him when we get to that. But I think let's start with the animist. Let's just go alphabetically.
Yeah, alphabetically works. So, the animist.
Wow, this is. I don't think these are the Kineticist designers.
Samo of Icemark, a middle-aged Varki woman from the lands of the Linorm Kings in the northernmost reaches of the Inner Sea region. Samo is a Nephilim, a mortal being with a touch of the celestial planes in her bloodline. Some of you may have noticed if you were playing our Instagram minigame that the Iconics have solid colored eyes. They don't have any irises or pupils, and that is because of their extraplanar heritage. That is,
so the Nephilim, right, are the new Asimar, the new tieflings. Was born
with this touch of the celestial in her bloodline, and it gave her the ability to see spirits and other entities that other people could not. So she was selected by the elders of Seer's home at a young age after her abilities helped her save her village from a Kushtaka incursion.
Classic Paizo, 17 paragraphs.
She was
of descriptive text. Just tell me what the thing
does.
Two
animist practices, the subpaths available to help customize your character. After she successfully bonded with her grandmother's spirit, an apparition known as a custodian of groves and gardens. If you've seen that art there, there's that deer, which is actually an elk behind her that has the growing branches and leaves coming out of its antlers. That is her apparition. So the animist is a full casting class that has a kind of interesting and unique spell progression that's built to answer a lot of both mechanically ways that people wanted to interact with spellcasters, and then also to tell some very interesting stories that are different.
I don't think it's going to be like the summoner.
Normally tell these. So the big thing that every animist can do is they can bond with apparitions. Like I said, the one that we depict Sama with there is an apparition of groves and gardens. Her normal spellcasting chassis is that she is a wisdom-based divine caster. But
another wisdom caster, somebody was right.
That apparition of gardens, it adds primal healing and plant-based spells to her repertoire that she can draw upon. And every one of these apparitions also comes with a cool vessel spell. This is a 1-action sustainable focus spell that gives you a big injection of themed mechanics that allow you to fulfill kind of a key secondary
So now
role.
we know why they're not doing that with the witch, because it sounds like they're doing that with the animist.
One of the things about the animist is there have been classes that had spiritual elements, and there have been concepts that have this spiritual element in them in the game before.
I agree. Oblivion Hold. It does seem like very
oracly.
Do
what we wanted to do here.
Primal
None
Witch.
of them quite tell the story we wanted to tell or work in the way we wanted to tell it. Going back to some of my earliest
so it is spontaneous
days when I first started homebrewing and stuff, one of my favorite classes in the Dragon game was a class called the Binder. And the Binder had this cool ability to bind with vestiges that gave it these neat abilities, and kind of you always had to do
from the Tome of Magic
with them. And conceptually, it was really cool, but it was also kind of limited. You wouldn't always be guaranteed to do the things you wanted to do. And then in Pathfinder in first edition, we had a class called
this Paizo stream. Not the most stable thing in the world, huh?
Idea of I want to make pacts with spirits, and I want those spirits to give me abilities. But again, it didn't quite do what we wanted to do. You had to be in the right environment to get the right spirit attached to you to do the right thing.
It's a full caster.
And even if you made all of your choices right, like if you picked one that made you a little bit of a fightery type character, you wouldn't actually be as good a fighter as having.
It's not hard, people. Let me just tell you something, okay? You can have production. Just get a good camera. That's all you need, people.
Archetype. That flexibility only existed at the start of the day and was really limited to, you kind of having to play a guessing game of what was going to be needed. And even if you guessed right, it didn't exactly give you that like big shot of, oh man, I'm really good at doing
I agree,
this thing
JG.
that I chose to do correctly. And so taking these elements and learning from them as we've evolved the game, just like we've continuously learned from everything we've done in Pathfinder 2nd edition since the start of the edition, we really dug into how do we make a class that is always
probably really
going
nervous.
to be good at a particular role, but also have this flexibility to adopt other roles.
More flexibility. We've talked about that.
Different ways to participate and give new additions to the party based on what they need and what maybe the player wants. If the player wants to change up how they interact with the game, how their character.
I mean, I don't dislike this. I think this is a good idea.
And so leading into that, we created these apparitions, and they are kind of the first building block along with their vessel spells. I'm going to get deeper into the apparitions later on.
Interesting that
I just kind of want to touch on the basic spell.
Animist, when you're like binding with an apparition,
feel like they kind of bring their own like abilities with you to kind of supplement your main character. Like it's not only some of the magic, like they know a little bit about various parts that it would make sense for them to know about, and so they can share not only their magic for in combat but also just their general knowledge with you. It makes sense an ancient spirit would know a thing or two about forests or battlefields or what have you.
Exactly. So that is one thing that your apparition does. They lend you their knowledge. They also lend
Tim
you their
apparently
magic,
knows
and
more
that
than
magic
me.
Can be anything that is appropriate to that apparition. They each have their own list of spells from 1st through 9th level that
I'm the same way, Coral.
And maybe if it's a spooky dark apparition, it gives you some occult spells that are based around sneaking and invisibility and darkness. Or maybe it is an apparition that has primal power and it throws fire and earth and lava around and gives you those kind of spells and abilities. So all of these different things graphed on there, and you have this base pool of slotted spells that you use to put in your divine magic. And then you have another pool of spell slots in addition to that are granted to you, and you can cast them from any of the apparitions that you currently have bonded with. At first level, right out the gate, you don't have just one, you have two. You choose one of them as your primary apparition, and that's the one where you can use their focus spell.
So it very sounds like it's like the spell casting version of a thaumaturge is what it sounds like.
Secondary apparition that still gives you some of their knowledge and that extra pool of spells that you can spontaneously choose from. As you go up, you'll gain a third and then a fourth apparition, and all of these apparitions will give you this collective pool that you can use from for those spontaneous slots that graft onto your smaller pool of prepared slots. And so this gives you a huge degree of neat flexibility and options that give you a spell casting methodology that is different from anything else we've put in the game thus far. Then you're going to choose your animistic practice, and this is going to have a really big impact.
Okay, so we got more than this then.
How you actually want to play in combat. At the beginning of any given day, you can always re-choose new apparitions. You're never locked into the ones that you start with.
Okay.
You can have
so very much like
that
taking some of the elements from the kineticist and the ability to sort of rework their feats.
I've been playing a character who was a prisoner for a very long time, and he only had his compatriot was this other person imprisoned with him. And it wasn't until they escaped together that he realized he was the only person who could see his compatriot.
Completely. Not just because Divine is weak, but because shouldn't this be primal? Doesn't this feel like this should be primal?
He allows that compatriot to possess him and fight on his behalf, because he's not good with weapons, but his apparition is. And so he has the sage animistic practice. This is the one for when you really kind of want to dedicate to one primary spirit. You become very difficult for anybody else to take control of you or dictate what you do any of your actions or things like that. You get an apparition's possession ability, where for one action, you just are like, yo, get in here, homie. And your apparition jumps in, takes control of your body. You become immune to control effects. You become immune to effects that attempt to influence your actions, such as charm or command, unless they're cast by a significantly more powerful character than you. But some of your actions are limited because you can only stride, strike, cast an apparition spell, cast a vessel spell, or use an action that has the apparition trait. And so you get feats that are specifically kind of tied to your apparitions.
Kind of like a version of the Barbarian Rage.
And interact with you.
Or like how Kineticist lets you channel elements and you get a free action, but you can only use it to do impulse or stance.
You let them use your body to influence the physical world. That's an important difference between the animist and, say, a summoner. A summoner has an eidolon that is a physical thing that shows up on the battlefield and fights for them. The apparitions that an animist is bonded to, they don't have that ability. They can't take physical form. They need the animist to be their window into the mortal world, their intercessor who does things for them. And so they very much share their power and their perspectives with each other.
That's really a thing I like in a lot of the abilities, in a lot of the feats. There's a lot of, you really feel like you're having this like entity come into your body to help you do something, or like leave to go help do something on the mortal world. But you are very much synthesis kind of summoner like this very intangible presence. I think it's a really cool vibe.
I guess the question is, how is this going to feel different
as the channeler
than any other caster?
To like, well, what if I don't want to be bonded to just one apparition? I want to do more of the things. I want to have multiple spirits who are all interfacing with me and all affecting what I do, and I want to utilize all of their power. And so that's where the channeler comes in. The channeler gives you a unique action called Apparition's Whirl. And you can do it one action once per round in combat. You can change which of your apparitions is your primary. So from round to round, you can be tied to the apparition that gives you blasty magic and really focuses on kind of destructive stuff. And then you can switch over to the apparition that instead gives you sneaky, controlling magic. And you can constantly be bouncing between them to kind of
I like that idea.
I
think that sounds cool. That sounds tactical.
Access to how you combine them and how you make this very fluid kind of character.
That sounds way more interesting than the other one.
Toggles that are available in this playtest for the animist. The sage, who is very dedicated to that one particular entity that they really lean into, and the channeler, who really just wants to make as many spirit friends as they can and learn to mix and match and utilize those abilities in unique ways. As you level up, you'll gain all kinds of feats, and we're experimenting with a lot of different ways to utilize and deploy resources here. that, I don't think all of these feats are going to make it out of the playtest into the final, because we tried a lot of weird stuff. We've got some feats in here where you have one of your apparitions literally become the wind beneath your wings, and it carries you around and you can fly. But while it's doing that, you don't get to benefit from its knowledge and its spells because it's too busy carrying you around. Yes. You have some other feats where you burn your connection with the apparition entirely, because at later levels, like I said, you'll have 3 or 4 of these that you bond with at the beginning of the day. And so maybe you want to quicken a spell and you need the apparition's power to help you do that. Instead of being limited to once per day or some other kind of time-based usage, what it does is it actually, your apparition sacrifices their bond with you. You use that power to cast your spell more quickly, and then that apparition is just gone. You don't get its benefits anymore until the next time you do your daily preparations.
Of course,
but
it's gone.
You still have your other,
but you get it back tomorrow after
and
you
it
sleep.
Becomes kind of a neat way of deciding how much do I want to retain the versatility of having all of these spiritual companions, and how much do I maybe want that spike in power right now of letting one of them sacrifice their bond with me in the moment to give me a surge of potency. So
I mean, I like that idea.
That's kind of what you can be looking forward to here. And now I'm going to jump into my last few minutes of wrapping up here by talking about the specific apparitions I've been using on my playtest animist. So I've given the cue. Hopefully you should be seeing some slides right about now of these cool apparitions that I'm going to talk about. The first one, if I've set this up correctly, should be the Custodian of Groves and Gardens. And this is the one that you see with Samo, that elk spirit that has the the leaves and living bond with.
I can't believe their source is only 720p.
It shares its knowledge with you, which gives you the farming lore and herbalism lore skills, and these will automatically scale up as you grow more powerful and are able to access more of the apparition's knowledge.
Oh, moment of renewal.
And it gives you a variety of spells, the Tanglevine cantrip, and then things like Wall of Shrubs, Gentle Breeze.
Okay, so it's literally adding one spell. It's basically a portable bloodline
to it. It gives you a vessel.
It's adding you one spell per level.
Healing, which is a cool 1 action, sustained up to 1 minute. 10
so it's like a swappable bloodline.
That gives everybody around you little pulses of healing that helps you be really good at keeping them alive and keeping them in the moment. And one of the really fun things about every apparition is, so like a cleric, their big 10th level spell is Avatar, where they become an avatar.
Totally just
of
a
their
bloodline,
god, right? Well, every one of your apparitions can possess your body, take on its ultimate form, and has its own unique avatar ability. So the unique avatar form of the Custodian of Groves and Gardens is the Elysian Field, which has these non-lethal, high-range abilities that allow you to, fight and impose peace through violence in a way that is appropriate to the nature of this spirit. The next one is the Imposter in Hidden Places. And this apparition is about kind of dark places, sneaky things, making enemies uncomfortable and disturbed.
Making enemies uncomfortable and disturbed? They got to really work on some of their language. No, I don't think this is the rare one, Gossamer. I think the rare one's going to be the exemplar. Again, to me, this just looks like a bloodline, right? I mean, we did assume that they would start off underpowered. That is for sure. 100%. Yeah.
Discomforting Whispers, which is an aura around you. It's a small aura, but it makes it very difficult for enemies to damage.
I do like 1 action focus spells. Okay. And I really, really like that. And this Discomforting Whispers is pretty sweet. It's a 5-foot emanation, so very, very short range, but it can be sustained for up to a minute. And each creature, now, by the way, that includes your allies, that starts its turn within the aura of the spell must roll twice on their first attack roll of the round and take the lower result. That's pretty good. Annoying, but good.
And try to take you out of the fights. The next one that we're going to talk about is the Steward of Stone and Fire. And this is very much the apparition if you want to be a blaster. You want to hurt enemies. You want to unleash the primal powers of earth and fire and volcanoes upon them. So, of course, you get mountain lore and volcano lore.
Mountain lore confirmed. Strongest class or strongest apparition yet. Volcano lore is going to come up all the time. But all right, what do we got here for Earth's Bile, which is a pretty gross sounding name when you really think about it. Earth's Bile is a 1-action focus spell with a 10-foot burst at 30 feet that you can sustain. When you cast the spell and the first time you sustain it, choose an area within range, so you get to move it around. Each creature in the area takes 1d4 fire damage, 1d4 bludgeoning damage, and 1 persistent fire damage. Basic reflex save. I don't know. I feel like that's pretty okay.
As well. Blood of Planets, which is very fast and has a very fast burrow speed. It can ignore difficult terrain.
Did they say
its melee attack is...
Did they say what level you need to be to bond with the avatar? That seems a little... I didn't know if they missed that.
Causes a burst of flame at a very large range to damage people.
The D4 is my least favorite die.
This is the version that you're really going to want to put in that primary slot if what you want to do is blast and burn and destroy your enemies. The final one, before I hand the mic over to James here, that I want to talk about is the Witness to Ancient Battles. And I was telling you at the start about the character I've been playtesting, who has his buddy who possesses his body to fight for him.
All right, here we go. Focus 1. Focus at rank 1. So 1 action, sustain for a minute. Your apparition guides your attacks and imparts its skill to your movements. For the duration, your proficiency with martial weapons is equal to your proficiency with simple weapons. Who cares? You get a +1 status bonus to attack and a damage rolls made with the weapons or unarmed attacks. And you get the reactive strike reaction, which is basically attack of opportunity. And you gain the critical specialization effect for any weapon you are wielding when you cast or sustain the spell. The instincts of an apparition in battle run contrary to the use of the magic, and you take a -2 status penalty to all of your spell attack modifiers and your spell DCs. At 4th rank, which would be 7th PC level, the status bonus goes to a +2, and at 7th rank, which would be level 13, it goes to +3/+3. Keep in mind, those are status bonus, so those don't stack with heroism or bardic inspiration. And who cares if I have a bad progression because I'm a caster? Who cares if I'm being able to use martial powers or martial weapons? My attack bonus is still going to stuck. Now, yeah, that is problematic.
Them for it by striking them with weapons. It increases your proficiency and makes you as proficient with martial weapons as you are with simple weapons.
See, this is a problem. All right. It increases your proficiency. No, it doesn't. Like, being able to be horrible with simple weapons to being able to be horrible with martial weapons is not increasing your proficiency. Okay. Let's be very, very clear about that. In fact, I actually was like, holy shit, are they about to do this? Because it said, for the duration, your proficiency with martial weapons is, and I was like, nope, it didn't change at all. Not only is it expert instead of, well, no, it's not, JG. It's, if I'm a caster, I'm just still trained all the way up to like 11th level. It doesn't even increase anything. It's horrible.
Tell you about the Exemplar and Nahoa.
All right,
here we go.
Yeah, so the Exemplar is the second of the 2 classes that are coming in this book. And I know one of the things that Mike said up front is that these are classes that have not existed in Golarion before. And the reason that the Exemplar has not existed in Golarion before is because they come to be as a result of the events of this book. Lots of things happen in this book, and some of them change the way that some stuff works.
Interesting.
The Exemplar is a hero who has somehow come to seize a bit of the divine. They have something called a divine spark within them. And this enables them to accomplish all sorts of powerful abilities.
Is this their attempt to bring like mythic classes into Pathfinder 2?
Over the world. Going into this, we were looking at all sorts of touch points, like, Hercules.
Oh, that's a great question. Are they using this book to justify the changes of the remaster? Yeah. I mean, it's very much, it feels very mythic rank. Sigma Y says Planeswalkers. Laz Dark says Hercules. I think James Case here just said Hercules.
Ocean. This is the ocean that rests between Tian Sha and Arcadia, where we haven't really seen a lot from here before. We do have one of the 4 great nations of the Okayo are the Tautake people, who are introduced in P1. And the second is where Nahoa is from. Nahoa is from the Olehala area. He essentially grew up on a very rainy island. He has a ton of younger sisters who I was taking care of. He's a little bit of a jock. But essentially his island came to be attacked by this great demon periodically. And so he essentially realized somebody had to come up and stop it, and he did. And in fighting this giant demon, first of all, they both wounded each other greatly. And in the process of this, Nahoa was basically
we will find out
some of this power and became a Nephilim in the process. One of the things with the remaster that we have is that the newly reimagined Nephilim versatile heritage.
I thought the same thing. I was like, they treat Galarian so anachronistically, right? When I watch people talk about Galarian and Pathfinder 2, I feel like I am watching A Knight's Tale. Now, A Knight's Tale is a great movie, but it's the most anachronistic thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
See, and that's how he ends up there.
I really get hit by a goblet of god stuff that falls out of the sky when a god is ripped in half. I'm just going to give it to y'all right now, so you can just dwell on that for a while.
I hate when that happens. That happened to me when I was going to work the other day. Yeah, I love this character design a lot. You know, this sort of Pacific Islander art is something I've always it's something I grew up with and I find very striking and cool. And I remember we did, as always, both of these character designs are by Wayne Reynolds. You know, everyone knows Wayne. And Wayne's designs have always been something that I wasn't really able to visualize with this. I was like, well, you know, Pacific Islanders don't wear a lot of, you know, they don't wear plate armor, they don't wear all this other stuff. So we worked together along with our art director on this project, the always awesome Sonia Morris. And I think this design is super cool. I'm really into it. It's a little bit Hawaiian, a little bit Tongan, and I just think he's super cool. So, yeah.
The rattan style armor, we talked about a bit about how probably in game that's going to use the same stats as Leaf Weave because the exemplar has that light armor proficiency, and that matches up very well with the kind of appearance and everything there. So yeah, kind of getting into that. You know, this is a class that we wanted to. You know, if you want to have really high quality weapons and armor, and we will get into the weapons they use in a little bit, don't worry. You can do that, but we also want you to just be, you know, a kid in a normal toga with like a normal spear who just can wreck stuff with this. So they are just as good unarmored, and they're just as good with simple weapons as they are more powerful ones. So if you want to just use a normal spear, a sling, you know, one of these more basic weapons, you will be able to do that. So yeah. So that's what an exemplar is, but what do they do? They have this spark of divine power. And the main thing that this spark does is that they can use it to basically, it is great. It is very powerful, and they can focus it through specific sacred vessels called icons. So every exemplar has 3 icons. One is on their body. It marks them as something with a touch of extra in it. One is something they wear, and one is a weapon they use to kind of carve out things onto the world. I think we have some.
This is so weird. I'm having a hard time like resonating with this class description.
Divine spark, and each icon has what's called an eminence effect and what's called a transcendence effect. As long as your spark is in that icon, it's constantly powering it to perform some sort of heroic ability. The first one here we have is called Skin Hard as Whole.
All right, let's take a look. Let's take a deeper dive, shall we? Let's get surgical on this thing here. All right, we've got Skin as Hard as Horn. Not a particularly lovely name, but you know, we can work with it. All right. Tempered in your spirit, your very skin is as a suit of armor. Though a single location on your body remains unprotected. So basically a curse and a challenge within your legend. So literally Achilles' heel. By the way, Vin with the $5 shout out, you know why. Eminence. You gain resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, or piercing damage equal to half your level. And by the way, it says or. You make this choice when you gain this icon, and it can't be changed thereafter. This does not apply against critical hits, which successfully find your unprotected spot. Okay. Transcend. Crash against me. One action. Your skin becomes virtually unbreakable until the beginning of your next turn. Your resistance increases to a value equal to your level. And during this time, if a creature fails a melee attack roll against you using a weapon dealing the same damage type as your resistance, or if they succeed in an attack roll against you with the weapon, but your resistance would be enough to reduce it to 0, then it clangs wildly against your skin and they get a -2 penalty to attack rolls until the beginning, which is worse, of their next turn.
In much the same way how something like the Kineticist has powerful abilities, but they can use relatively freely. You can use these abilities relatively freely as well, but you just have to be sure that, you have to power up your weapon before you can, hurl it at them in a blast of lightning or something. The other two
these themes of versatility that move between them, this is really a shared thing of both classes. Both classes have these kind of cool mode change abilities. They have this ability to kind of move and adapt to different situations, and they do it in different ways, but it's very much this kind of coordinated theme of both these books. The system has reached a certain level of maturity, and so it's really exciting to be able to give people kind of this greater degree of control and flexibility over what they're doing in combat, and emphasize different strengths and options based on how they want to adapt to the battlefield.
Yeah. I agree, JG.
And, going through the kind of inspirations we have here, if you go through mythologies, you have heroes, but you also have the objects that they're associated with. You have Mjolnir, you have like the Ruibang, these kind of things. So the other two we have here are the Noble Branch.
By the way, just shout out, to the Paizo chat while we're in this part of the thing. I'm gonna expand this here. This person here, Argonian Bookworm, was like, Animist was looking so good. Then they said divine spell list. And I'm like, that is absolutely freaking hilarious. That guy is awesome.
Very much traced through both of these classes in a way, which makes sense. These are classes that interact with the divine, they interact with apparitions and that sort of thing. And the third one we have here is the Victor's Wreath. This can be either headwear or a sash, just depending on what suits your fashion a little bit more.
By the way, did we miss that? Yeah. So the Noble Branch, which is a stick or a spear, does an additional 2 points of spirit damage to creatures per weapon die to creatures it strikes. Okay. I guess that's something.
Your weapon, you can do that. All that means is that the weapon that you've been kind of tying to your legend becomes more powerful as it goes along. One little touch I like about these is that you don't buy them at level 1, which isn't really a whole thing, but I like the idea that if a spear is going to be part of your legend, you may just wake up the night that you become an exemplar, you may wake up and just find yourself holding on to a spear, a sash. And
that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible.
Thing that exemplars have to express their concept also. The one thing that we touched
Did
on.
Did anybody catch what the key ability score is for
epithets. So as your exemplar grows more powerful in level, they will also gain epithets. These start quite small. I think the first ones that you get are all just something like brave or cunning, or my personal favorite, which is mournful. And then they become a little more florid as you gain higher.
Wow, somebody at Paizo played Aegon.
This one here is called Whose Cry is Thunder. This is not Nahoa's, but this is one that I like a lot. So Whose Cry is Thunder basically connects your deeds to the sky.
So when you critically succeed,
this can mean that any spirit damage you deal with, any of your abilities,
single target lightning bolt,
is electricity damage, because it's crackling lightning. This means that this gives you an ability that powers up your weapon. Anytime you crit with your weapon, light strikes someone nearby, which I think is good fun. And it has
which is good fun.
The
Oh, we're losing the guy.
in a way that turns it into a blaze of lightning. So the ones we have for the playtest.
All right, so if you critically succeed, it strikes the target within 30 feet for 4d6 electricity damage. This is 7d6 at 12th level and 10d6 at 17th level. And it's got to be within 30 feet. And then Transcend, which is Judgment from Clear Spies for 2 actions. As you fire or hurl your weapon, it becomes a line of booming lightning. Make a ranged strike with your icon against a creature who's within your weapon's first range increment or 30 feet, whichever is further. If the strike is successful, the target and each creature within 15 feet of it have to make a fort save or take 1d6 electricity damage and 1d6 sonic damage. This increases to 2d6 and 2d6 at 12th level, or 3d6 and 3d6 at 17th level.
Say talk to your GM. Say you're interested in taking something like Whose Cry is Thunder, and you're a relatively low level hero. This might be something where you talk to your GM about, like, how would you earn this epithet? Maybe you find yourself in a great battle where at the end you let out a war cry, and as you do, the sky echoes, and then when you get to the appropriate level, you may have earned this name. Maybe you sing very loudly. Maybe you're the one who cries to let everybody know that danger is coming. But we wanted to give this epithet as a thing you can do in story to kind of build towards your power-ups that you're looking for later, not just in terms of I want these cool abilities, but also how does this fit into my story. This is also one of
not really.
Also the rare class, in case that wasn't
it's
quite
more
apparent yet.
Okay, yeah, confirm this is the rare class.
Is new on the face of Galarian, and they are affected by a rare element in that way. So this class is the rare class. We try to keep it at about the same level of power and narrative interaction as any of our other classes. But because of this kind of tie-in, we thought it appropriate to add this trait onto the class. So this is our first rare class as well. We have a little bit of time, so I want to go into the feats a little bit.
All right, here we go.
Very much a combat class.
They're so good. And I don't say that because I helped write a couple of them. I say that because they're just so cool.
I love it when class feats give me 2 skill feats.
The of this class is very much global mythology, and you'll see that in a lot of these feats. Many of these will do things like, they can gain reactive strike at a higher level with a feat if they want. They can claim bits of domain magic if they want. Many of them will give them additional supernatural abilities or other abilities they can add to their icon. So even if your icon does not have a static ability the whole time, it has something reliable you're always going to love. But something like Leap the Falls here, just as long as your body is empowered by divine energy, turns out so are some of your athletic feats.
But see, here's the problem with that. You have divine energy and now you're this god warrior. Yeah, so is anybody at level 3 who took powerful leap and quick jump.
These are a little Celtic and a little Hindu, respectively. Mike and I have a fair range of historical knowledge between us. We also work
Tamadashi.
We also worked with a couple of cultural consultants who were able to kind of give us some recommendation in that area. And so we're really hoping that this is a class that takes all of these global kind of myths and lets you put them together into one really awesome kind of heroic character. Yeah, so that is the exemplar.
I think everybody was guessing, is it going to be a demigod class? And we were like, no, but you're getting pretty close.
But you're close, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think we're going to have Rue potentially maybe joining us to see if we have some questions from the stream.
Yeah.
Well, the stream on Twitch seems to be very excited about this. I mean, look, we'll wait.
I can hear you. People in Twitch who hopefully Rue can see. Can you hear Rue?
Hopefully we can.
Getting a lot of hi Rue in the chat.
Yeah, hopefully we can figure out, when we see the actual playtest class.
Getting a lot of who dies, which I don't know.
I'm underwhelmed, Damien. I'm underwhelmed.
We cannot hear Rue. Okay.
Oh, they're having audio issues?
Rue is working on bringing themselves into the chat, folks. So we will have that adjusted momentarily.
So if you have questions, now would be a great time to drop them in.
Get them queued up.
That should have fixed that. I think I am audible now.
Yeah.
And I have my nice document of your questions. Thank you so much to our mods in the chat who have been keeping classes.
This is true.
Questions about these classes in the chat for me since I've been running tech. But I'll just kind of pop between them. If there's any particular questions y'all want, if you have the document open, you can highlight them for me and I'll go next.
Yeah.
And I am going to...
I
scrolling down.
I pretty much agree with Darth Gorlock here. I'm hopefully we see something really interesting with these class mechanics. I mean, again, remember,
can you switch out your spirits to get different apparition spells for the animist if you're dual tradition?
Yeah, so you have 2 apparitions by default that you can bond with at the start of each day. You can choose from any of the apparitions available when you do that.
I agree,
then,
Sigma.
Depending on which tradition or practice you have, that'll affect how easy it is to change which one is your primary. If you're a sage, you can only change your primary outside of combat during a 10-minute rest, because you actually have to go through kind of a process of bonding to the other apparition. And so from the 2 you start with, you can swap to the second one and make it your primary during that break. If you are the channeler, you can use that action that is kind of the main ability of taking that path to switch them as a single action round to round. You can constantly juggle between them. As you go up in levels, you get more of those apparitions, but changing them is the same thing. If you're the sage, changing your primary is a thing you do outside of combat. If you're a channeler, changing between them is the kind of core functionality of the thing. Now, once you've chosen your apparitions,
100%
apparitions, those are the only apparitions that you have access to that day. You can't choose 4 and then during a short rest choose 4 completely different ones, because that would just get a little bonkers and your character wouldn't have very much identity in any given session. So
just remember, we have to keep this in mind, people. When Knights of Last Call create Night Finder, we need to remember how to do a hype pop stream.
But you do have a lot of flexibility within that.
Awesome. I'm gonna bop over to James and Krasimia. Oh, also, if I pronounce your username wrong, I apologize. Krasimia asks, does the exemplar have any healing?
The exemplar is mostly a class that's based around beating up enemies. And so many of their abilities are in service of this. So they have one of the icons allows you to heal yourself. They don't have a ton of healing of their allies. They do have a feat called Fish from the Fall's Edge that allow them to, if an ally would be reduced to 0 HP, they can kind of pull them back from the underworld. But it is a relatively higher level ability. But this is less your healer class, and this is much more of your frontline combatant class. And that's a dynamic that you'll also see throughout the book in kind of...
I agree, Hunter, by the way. Like, Kineticist, I panned it. I was not happy with it at all during the playtest version.
Kind of move through this book together. So, Mike and I have talked a lot about cool action shots to have our art team work on. So I'm looking forward to it very much.
Yeah, if you've ever listened to me, I use the word cinematic constantly when talking about class and character option design.
That shouldn't be too hard there, Ben. That shouldn't be too hard.
Does that mean at higher levels with different apparitions, you'll have up to like 8 lore skills at once?
It does mean you will have access to a lot of lore skills, yes. And
what? 8 lore skills? What? You're gonna have access to a bunch of lore skills? Holy shit! Hype!
Overwhelming for you to manage at the table, because you know what your apparitions are and you know what they're kind of into. So if it comes up, you know that you're gonna have it covered and you'll be able to make those checks and gain that knowledge from your apparition. But yeah, it does mean that, and we're looking forward to hearing what that means for all of you as you play test these classes and try them out.
Wow.
Next up for James, we have
No,
can I
Carzoni.
expand on what weapons
Very
are
not much.
available
Very much
to a
not
weapon
that.
icon.
Very much not that.
Yeah. So this is true of all of the icons. They don't
Agree.
say that this specifically has to be this one magic item, or that this specifically must be a, this must be a +1 dagger or something. We want to still give you, like, a large part about expressing your identity as any sort of martial character is kind of what weapon you pick. I mean, so we still want
that's
to
good,
give
Captain
you those
Yankee.
options. So the icons are more like categories. The one we showed was Noble Branch. This is very spear-based, so that uses more like a weapon group to determine it. There are others that use other qualifiers. Let
me just say something really quick here, okay? You're doing War of the Immortals. The heavens are battling. One of your core gods is apparently being destroyed, and the divine power that is sort of latent in the game, or latent in the heavens, is now available for use by champions of divine power, or perhaps even ambitious people. This was the perfect time to do mythic adventures for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And the way you do mythic adventures is you basically create a sort of variation of the archetype. And you leverage existing structures within the class, and you make them uncommon or rare so that people know that this is maybe at a different play scale, and you introduce mythic tier or mythic concept. This is and you don't make it one random class plus sort of quasi politically correct spirit guy, right? You make a bunch of awesome archetypes that sort of layer on top of your existing framework. And in fact, the fact that they know that so many people embrace the free archetype optional house rule means that they understand that there is an appetite within the community for you to say, and here we're going to add these mythic archetype progression on top of your core game experience, or something like along those lines. And now you've got this amazing game system that ties into your War of the Immortals without making all the other classes feel redundant. Instead, it says, hey, play your fighter, play your druid, play your psychic, play your kineticist, but now you can also play this without having to throw away everything else that came out before it. I just don't understand why they wouldn't do that. That, to me, makes far more sense.
Sorry that I will be ignoring any questions of that regard. For both of you, what are your guys' favorite feats from each class?
The skilled jumping one.
So,
I have
James,
one,
yeah, you go first. You go first.
Okay. This is I don't think it's not a max level ability, but it's very high for exemplar. At the lower levels, when you upgrade your icons, they tend to only give one ability, and at the high levels, we kind of take that restraint off. There is a high level feat called 7-Colored Cosmic Bridge that basically has your weapons scatter rainbow-colored light everywhere when you hit, and then you can teleport along with that light to anywhere near the enemy. Its transcendence ability is called Fleeting Arc Through Heaven and Earth. It is a giant beam of rainbow energy that blasts everything in a cone, and then you teleport along with it as well. So this is very much inspired by the Bifrost kind of Norse mythology and that sort of thing, but also something that we wanted to bring into the game in a way that, we can hopefully render in a way that takes those themes of, light being fleeting, transporting through space, into the way that makes sense to blast out your weapon in a giant cone. So yeah. It's quite high level.
Cool.
Yes. So, God, there's so many, because we had just a lot of fun while we were doing this. But one of the things the apparitions give the animist is these cool wandering feats. where you can change out feats at certain levels, like 12th level, to adapt to the apparitions that you prepare that day. So if you have a feat that is tied to a particular apparition, and then you don't want to use that apparition one day, you can also swap out the feat at that level to either be a generic wandering feat or to match one of the new apparitions that you bonded to. And one of the kind of fun ones there that is tied to the imposter in hidden places in particular is shadows within shadows, which is a reaction you get. And if you would be detected by an enemy seeking you, or an enemy would succeed at a counteract check to end a spell you have used to make yourself hidden, concealed, invisible, or undetected, then your attuned apparition is just like, no, and it forces the enemy to re-roll the triggering check and take the lower result. So it makes it really hard to counteract your invisibility.
Oh, they definitely get paid by the word.
While you are
they definitely get paid by the word.
An apparition whose shtick is specifically being sneaky.
I have this image of the channelers specifically as like doing their daily preparations. They've just come to a large forest from, I don't know, they were in a desert beforehand, and they're just sitting down at the beginning of the day, and you just see this like wheel of apparitions around them, and they're like, I will pick this one, you know, kind of a thing. They have that and that wandering.
Let's see here. Yeah. Lazarus Dark, whiteboard is best class. Whiteboard playtest when? What do we got here? A couple quick things here. They feel like they make classes for people that turn in 20-page backstories for a level 1 character. Satmac, absolutely agree. I mean, especially, to be fair, the exemplar has written all over it, like Mary Sue, right? Like, I want to be this special person with this special thing, and everything is special about me. Mythic would be a ton of work, and we would have to completely build it from scratch. But again, I would think that is what Paizo did. Again, I was wrong. I thought this was going to lean towards the Tian Sha stuff. I didn't think it was going to have to do with, immortals battling, in which case I don't understand why they wouldn't go that route. Mythic is a big promise. I completely agree. Right. So here are your two options. And I think Strat kind of nails it here, which is, do you release 2 classes that nobody was really asking for or wanted? And then if they miss the mark, you just go, well, I'll probably buy the book anyways, and I'm not really that disappointed. Or do you try to deliver on something big and huge that a lot of people get hyped about and then miss the mark, right? That's the problem. Yeah, I mean, they said that kits, they said they get those as capstone abilities. So at level 20, they basically, for lulz, they get immortality, I guess.
To complete the process again, and your soul passes to whatever final reward it has earned. So if you play a little too fast and loose with your own mortality, it can end up causing you to no longer be an immortal, constantly reborn being. But as long as you don't constantly throw yourself into the grinder, you can just continue to carry on your story and be an animist into perpetuity.
One of my questions on here was about immortal capstone feats, so thanks for pulling that in. Before I move on, do you want to share one for the exemplar, James?
Yeah. So the exemplars is a little more in the moment because they are very much get up in your face character. Theirs is just called Beyond Mortality. This is just one of those that like you just cease aging when you die, and this is one thing that we're experimenting with the optional kind of focus points, much like Monk has for this class. And just like when you would die, you
guys are savage.
Burn out all of your focus points and not die. You just can. You can still only do it once a day, So, but like, when you do, you heal yourself. You immediately stand back up. And you summon all of your armaments back.
By the way, they literally stole that from 4th edition. Just letting you know, by the way. That exact ability, that is exactly from 4th edition. Just saying.
HP bar goes down, HP bar comes back up.
Just saying.
Kind of feat, which just makes a little more sense.
Literally Epic Destinies. Oh no. Stream crashed? What happened? Is that me? Can someone?
And-
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and
Nope,
something
it was
that
just
makes maybe a
lag.
little more sense for a frontline combatant versus a literal storyteller in the, in the thing.
James, could you build an exemplar to be stealth based?
I'm not. They do not have many abilities in the playtest that are attempting to have them be stealth based. A lot of their stuff is very up in the face. Heroes live bigger lives than anyone else, kind of a thing.
Thin
That being
Wizzy,
said,
savage.
they do have a
I
couple
have
of
a
ways
build
to get.
right here for my sneaky exemplar. I was
I'm
playtesting
getting
just
there,
the other
man.
day.
Let me get there, man. They do have some abilities. One of the top epithets is called Thief of Moonlight. This has
Poll coming in.
this snatches the light from enemies' eyes that makes them dazzled or unable to see, which, I mean, that's one way to sneak. You're not hiding, but also if you use their transcendence ability, it's called All That Shines Belongs to Me. It makes you invisible. People you pass near become blinded, and the more people whose light you steal with this, the longer the effect goes on. There is also the kind of one feat that is based on Hawaiian and also Chinese mythology in this is called Sunwrecker, where you literally attack the sun. This casts darkness on everything around you and also gives you dark vision. So that is another way to affect stealth in this class. So
Tim,
they can be stealthy, but only in ways that are very bombastic.
They could very well, Tim, because again, you have to remember that these classes are basically designed in silos, right? They have people who are designing this class over here are not the ones who are designing that class over there. And so my guess is these probably have been being worked on simultaneously, or at least there was a significant amount of overlap. I don't know how much one design informed the other. You would hope that there was that sort of overarching thing, but we can't say for sure, Tim. And I think that I mean, to be clear, I thought the kineticist design was really, really great. I know there were some people who thought it could be a little bit more powerful, but I'm pretty happy with where it is on for the most part.
All enemies.
A lot of the vessel spells are very potent.
Their stream quality
and
sucks.
so they use kind of the standard design paradigms for these more aggressively tuned kind of abilities. We really wanted to allow people to experience kind of the far edge of this and have some tactical elements. We may
I like that.
Rein these in or dial them up post playtest. It's one of the reasons we do the playtest is to hear from you all and what you think. But what we really wanted to do was kind of be able to give the most, as James said, bombastic and kind of awesome version of these abilities, and getting to that kind of upper edge of how fantastic and cool they can be means they can't be as discerning as maybe a less effective or less efficient ability might otherwise be.
Yeah, it's very much what the playtest is. We have a sense of where sort of the boundaries are for all the classes we've done in the past, and we kind of we want to try and find new ones, and that means we have to go a little outside. And I'm sure some of these are strong and some of these are not, and we're hopefully gonna find that out by having everyone play through them. Also, I just want to hear about what characters are. That's nice. I will be lurking the forums for that information.
That's me too.
That's pretty brutal there, folks.
This is a question that's also important to me as a person. Are there any pets, animal companions, or followers available for either class?
It is not a standard feature of the exemplar. That might be something that we think about.
I think that's reasonable, Henry.
Later.
I do think that's reasonable.
Right now is very much in this space of they are very much a part of their kind of adventuring party, but they are not a pet class per se, as it were.
No, pets. That's okay. You can just take the pet
animist.
The pet general feat now.
The kind of fundamental divide that the animist walks is that their apparitions do not have the ability to affect the physical world without them, and the animist is given their window into the spirit world and that power via the apparition. So we wanted to keep that line very clean, and as such, there aren't any pet options in this playtest for the animist.
We're getting close to the end here, and I want to end with a kind of fun and silly question. Vanessa asks for no direction. How are each of the classes like Batman?
So the
Go.
animist, I think, is like Batman in that as long as Batman
Like
knows what he's
Batman?
getting into, he will
Who
have an
cares?
array of tools available for every situation. And once you've got your full suite of apparitions at play and you have all of your other abilities that click into them, an animist is going to be able to, in the moment, have a really excellent solution that they can draw upon to take out the bad guy as it is called for.
The exemplar is like Batman in that even though Batman is very sneaky, you always know when Batman is here because Batman shows up, the lightning dramatically flashes against the Art Deco buildings in the background. You see the silhouette, and then he proclaims that he is Batman, and then stuff goes down. In this way, the exemplar is the exemplar is a class that I think we want to lead into that same sort of very kind of cinematic atmospheric type of thing.
I mean,
Batman
yeah, they said
also
they're using
uses many
slots.
tools, which the exemplar has. So if you were Batman, what would you do? I don't know. Your cape would be an icon. Maybe your grappling hook.
Your utility belt, maybe?
Your utility belt just is one of your divine relics.
Yeah. Before we close out today,
44% of you said seems weak. 38% of you said COC win.
For some current events that I believe he wanted to touch on today.
Yeah. So this is the first time that we've kind of done an icon, heavily inspired by Pacific Islander culture. I was born and raised in Hawaii. I grew up, my grandfather's native Hawaiian. I don't know if some of you have seen the news. There was a very destructive wildfire in Lahaina, Maui that has really done quite a lot of damage recently in the past. So if any of you are wondering how you might reach out to help, if any of you like the exemplar, I would maybe ask that if you're able to, you maybe slide maybe a cost of a cup of coffee worth of donations. You can look at either Maui Nui Strong, which has a good list of resources that you can kind of pick and choose from, as well as places to donate physical supplies, etc., or the Hawaii Community Foundation Maui Strong Fund, which is a great way to get kind of funds just to people. And that's all. I just wanted to bring that up since it's a recent thing, and it seemed a little odd to have a very cool, large luau boy here and not say something about my home. So that's all.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that James Case
but I forgot to say something earlier. So I do have to throw out real quick an important thing for our partners. There will be a module on Foundry available tomorrow that will allow full class builds of both the Animist and the Exemplar for people who use Foundry.
There we go.
Then our partners at Demiplane will also be hosting a free character builder. So you'll be able to go set up a free Demiplane account and test out the Exemplar and Animist using their character.
All right, well, we'll
builder.
get a chance to take a look and see what this class has.
Before James's thing. So
oh no, I'd rather lead on a more fun note.
So thank you both for being here and talking about your classes. If folks would like to find you on the internet and you want them to, where can they find you?
All right, I don't think we're going to see anything else here.
In so long as
all right, so yeah, I mean, there you have it. I'm a little underwhelmed. Not what I was expecting, going in a different direction than I was hoping. And honestly, still a little confused about how and where these classes fit. Again, I always talk about how resonance is really important to me. And I don't necessarily mean the Pathfinder 2 playtest concept that got destroyed. I mean, like being able to look into, history and say, oh, okay, this is the thing that I'm doing there. Exemplar maybe gets a little closer to that with this idea of these legendary demigod and heroes. But I think trying to do that in a way that still supports a balanced level 1 character is a little weird and strange to me. So that's kind of why I feel like I'm having a little bit of a dissonance with that. Again, I mean, we'll take a look at the playtest tomorrow and take a look and see what's going on for it. Again, I'm the first one to admit that, we should not jump to conclusions. I didn't like the kineticist playtest. I thought the psychic playtest was weak. I think everybody thought the psychic playtest was weak, and now the psychic is one of the strongest classes I feel in the game. And obviously the kineticist is very well designed and has a lot of fun. So, hopefully Paizo continues to, sort of develop and sort of iterate on that process. John says, thanks for the stream nights. I just reaffirmed my decision to stop buying past Treasure Vault. Yeah, John, I mean, it's a great idea, but I will say that if you rely on the digital tool set, they are going to nuke existing game system into the ground. So you're going to have to basically rely on paper books, because they're not considering it a new edition. It's an update, which means all of the existing tools, tool sets, path builder, et cetera, are all just going to sort of be, made automatic to the new quote unquote edition. It's definitely one of the strongest archetypes in the game for sure. Now, it's 8 o'clock or a little bit there past. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to sign off. I'm going to hit the bathroom. I'm going to grab a drink. I'm going to get a Zoom call set up with our friend, our patron, Call of Cthulhu Keeper Extraordinaire, Benisaro, and we are going to be back here at 8:30. So in 25 minutes, we'll be back to talk about Call of Cthulhu. Namely, I'm going to be taking a look at Call of Cthulhu for the first time, and you are going to get to see me reacting, and you're going to get to see Ben reacting to me reacting, which should be, we'll see. I'm interested to see how this goes. So a huge horror fan versus someone who is not a huge horror fan, but I'm coming in this with open heart and open mind. So definitely hang out, make sure that you check it out. And if not, stay tuned. I'm sure we'll probably have an opportunity to talk more about these playtests. They drop tomorrow. So who knows? Maybe we'll do a stream tomorrow to talk about them. I don't know. I have the day off tomorrow, which is really, really important. So, all right, everybody, we will be right back, and I'll see you guys in about 20 minutes or so. Okay? All right. Peace.